Lily and Rose were twins, as close as two people could be. They were born on a sunny morning in May, one right after the other. Lily came first, with a loud cry that seemed to fill the whole hospital. Rose followed just a few minutes later, quiet and calm. From that day on, they were rarely apart. Growing up in their small, blue house on a street lined with big oak trees, they shared everything. They had the same room, with two beds that were always pushed close together. They had the same toys, though Lily preferred the building blocks and Rose loved her collection of dolls. They even had the same face. Both had bright blue eyes, a sprinkle of freckles across their noses, and hair the color of corn silk. Their mother would dress them in matching outfits, little dresses with flowers on them, and they would hold hands wherever they went. To people who didn't know them well, they were just the twins. But to each other, they were whole worlds. Lily was the brave one. If there was a tall tree to climb or a dark shed to explore, she would be the first one to go. She was full of energy, always running, jumping, and scraping her knees. Rose was the dreamer. She would spend hours lying in the grass, watching the clouds drift by and making up stories about the shapes she saw. She was gentle and thoughtful, the one who would put a bandage on Lily's scraped knee and listen to all her grand adventures with a patient smile. Their bond was like a secret language. They didn't always need words to understand each other. A look, a small smile, or a slight nod was enough. When they were 7, Lily fell from the big oak tree in their backyard and broke her arm. She didn't cry out until she saw the look of pure terror on Rose's face. It was as if Rose felt the pain just as much as Lily did. While Lily's arm was in a cast, Rose became her shadow, carrying her books to school, cutting her food for her, and reading her stories every night until she fell asleep. As they grew older, small differences started to appear, like tiny cracks in a perfect vase. When they started high school, Lily joined the soccer team. She loved the feeling of running down the field, the wind in her hair, and the roar of the crowd when she scored a goal. She made new friends, teammates who were loud and energetic just like her. Rose, on the other hand, found her passion in the school's art room. She discovered a love for painting. With a brush in her hand, she could create whole worlds on a canvas. She painted the sunsets she saw from her bedroom window, the old oak tree in their yard, and portraits of people lost in thought. Her friends were quiet and artistic, and they would spend their lunch breaks sketching in their notebooks. Their matching dresses were replaced by their own styles. Lily wore jeans and t-shirts, her hair often tied back in a messy ponytail. Rose preferred long, flowing skirts and kept her hair long and straight. For the first time, they asked their parents for separate rooms. The house felt a little bigger, a little emptier, with a wall now between them. They still loved each other, of course. They would still talk late into the night sometimes, sharing secrets and dreams. But things were different. Their paths were starting to split, heading in two separate directions. Lily dreamed of getting a sports scholarship and seeing the world. Rose dreamed of going to art school in the city and opening her own gallery one day. After high school, their different dreams pulled them even further apart. Lily got her scholarship and moved to a big university hundreds of miles away. Her life became a whirlwind of classes, soccer practice, and weekend games. She would call Rose on Sundays, her voice full of excitement as she talked about her new life. Rose stayed behind in their small town. She went to the local community college and worked part-time at the town's little library. She saved every penny she could, hoping to one day have enough to move to the city and enroll in a real art school. Her life was quiet and predictable. She missed Lily more than she could say. The house felt strangely silent without her sister's loud laughter echoing through the halls. The phone calls became less frequent. Lily was always busy, and Rose didn't want to feel like a burden. Their conversations became shorter, filled with polite questions and simple answers. How's school? Rose would ask. Good, busy, Lily would reply. How's work? Lily would ask. Fine, same old, Rose would say. The secret language they once shared seemed to be fading, replaced by the awkwardness of strangers. One cold autumn afternoon, Rose was at work when she got the call. It was her mother, her voice choked with tears. There had been an accident. A car crash. Lily was in the hospital, and it was serious. Rose felt the world drop out from under her. She drove for 6 hours straight, her hands shaking on the steering wheel, her mind a blur of fear and worry. When she finally got to the hospital, she saw her sister lying in a bed, hooked up to machines that beeped and whirred. Lily looked so small and fragile, nothing like the strong, invincible sister Rose remembered. The doctor told them that Lily had a severe head injury. She was in a coma, and they didn't know if she would ever wake up. He said the next few days were critical. Rose refused to leave the hospital. She sat by Lily's bed day and night, holding her still hand. She talked to her for hours, telling her stories from their childhood, reminding her of the time they built a fort in the living room and the summer they spent catching fireflies in jars. She read to her from their favorite books and played the music they used to love. Please wake up, Lily, she would whisper, tears rolling down her cheeks. I need you. I miss you so much. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into a month. Lily didn't wake up. The doctor started to talk about long-term care facilities, about the chances of recovery growing slimmer with each passing day. But Rose refused to give up hope. She had to quit her job and put her college classes on hold. Her dreams of art school felt like a distant memory from another lifetime. Her entire world had shrunk to the size of this quiet, sterile hospital room. One afternoon, as she was sketching Lily's face in her notebook, she noticed a flicker. Lily's eyelids fluttered. Rose's heart leaped into her throat. She called for the nurse, her voice trembling with excitement. Over the next few days, Lily started to show more signs of waking up. She would squeeze Rose's hand, and her eyes would open for a few seconds at a time. Finally, one morning, she woke up completely. The relief Rose felt was so overwhelming that she thought she might collapse. Her sister was back. But her joy was short-lived. The accident had changed Lily. The head injury had caused significant damage. She had trouble with her memory. She couldn't remember the last few years clearly. She didn't remember her university, her soccer team, or the friends she had made. Her short-term memory was also affected, making it hard for her to follow conversations or remember what she had done just hours before. But the hardest part, the part that broke Rose's heart into a million pieces, was that Lily's personality had changed. The brave, energetic, and outgoing Lily was gone. In her place was a quiet, fearful, and confused woman. She was easily startled by loud noises and large crowds. She was hesitant and unsure of herself, clinging to Rose like a frightened child. The roles they had played their whole lives were suddenly reversed. Now, Rose had to be the strong one. She had to be the brave one. Lily was eventually discharged from the hospital and came back to live in their childhood home. Rose became her full-time caregiver. Her days were filled with helping Lily with simple tasks that she now found difficult, getting dressed, making meals, remembering to take her medication. Rose tried to help Lily remember. She showed her old photographs, played their favorite songs, and took her to all their old childhood haunts. Sometimes, for a fleeting moment, a spark of the old Lily would shine through. She might smile at a memory or finish a line from a song they both knew. But then the moment would pass, and the fog would roll back in, leaving Lily confused and frustrated. Rose's own dreams were packed away in a box and stored in the attic. Her paintbrushes and canvases gathered dust. There was no time for art anymore. There was only Lily. She loved her sister with all her heart, but sometimes, In the dead of night, she would lie in her bed and weep for the life she had lost. She mourned for her own future, but most of all, she mourned for the sister she had lost, the vibrant, fearless twin who had been her other half. One sunny afternoon, Rose took Lily to the park. They sat on a bench, watching the children play. Lily was quiet, her gaze distant. "Do you remember," Rose began, her voice soft, "how we used to come here and you would always try to climb that big oak tree over there?" Lily turned to look at the tree. She stared at it for a long time, a flicker of something in her eyes. "I remember falling," she said slowly. Rose nodded, her heart aching. "Yes, you fell. You broke your arm." "You were scared," Lily said, her voice barely a whisper. She turned her gaze from the tree to Rose. For the first time in a long time, her eyes were clear. She looked at Rose, really looked at her. "You're still scared." Tears welled up in Rose's eyes. She couldn't hide it anymore. She nodded, unable to speak. Lily reached out and took Rose's hand. Her grip was weak, but her touch was firm. "It's okay," she said. "I'm here." In that moment, Rose realized that while she had lost the sister she grew up with, she hadn't lost her completely. The core of their bond, that deep, unspoken connection, was still there. It had been buried under layers of pain, loss, and sacrifice, but it hadn't been destroyed. Lily was different now, and their lives were not what they had dreamed they would be. The future was uncertain and filled with challenges. But as they sat there, holding hands on that park bench, Rose understood that their story wasn't just about what they had lost. It was also about what remained. The sadness was a heavy cloak that she knew she would carry for the rest of her life. But underneath it, there was still love. A quiet, resilient love. A love between two sisters who had been through the unimaginable and had found their way back to each other, not as identical halves of a whole, but as two separate, broken people who could still find solace and strength in simply holding hands. They were no longer the same, but they were still together, and in the end, that was all that truly mattered.